Hey guys, welcome to the Doomben preview, and I've been chatting to Nick and Trent about this card, and it took a lot of work, didn't it, Nick?
It did. It did good. Well, we got the standard 10, but there was like 3 or 4 races I went through and went, no, I just can't get involved. But you've still got to do them before you say, no, I can't get involved. So, yeah, it did take a bit of work. And it's a couple of races where pretty keen on one or two, but the map doesn't really seem to suit round Doomben. So that sort of slowed me up a bit. But
Okay, well, I mean, that's a good lead in. What are you expecting at Doomben on Saturday?
I think the rail's half-metre. We've had a few showers around. I think it's a soft 5 still. Doomben doesn't dry out nearly as quick as Eagle Farm, so if we get a couple of showers and they are coastal, it might stay in that range. I don't think it'll be significantly affected at all. So I'm working on typical Doomben, pretty fair, but it always plays to be map positive there. It is difficult to come from the back of the field.
Beauty. And Trent, you're back from your world tour. What are you saying about the track tomorrow at Doomben? And maybe just explain to all our Australian viewers these two silly hats that you both have on.
Yeah, well, Nick and I both are big NFL fans. I've just come back from the States. I did go to a Dolphins game. Nick happily tipped me into a couple of good winners there at the Miami game. But I'm a Kansas supporter because back in the early 2000s, there was a guy called Trent Green who was the quarterback for Kansas City. So it's like having the name Daniel Marino. You're going to be going for the Dolphins in that scenario. So
sorry to get completely off racing topic here. Is that the Trent Green that blew his knee out at St. Louis and Kurt Warner took over from him?
Yes. And then he went to Kansas, and then he had two his best years. He ended up going back to St. Louis again after it. I think that might have been. Were they St. Louis? Yeah, they were St. Louis then.
Yeah.
Back to the Rams. So.
Okay. Yeah, but more importantly, Trent, how are Miami Dolphins going, and how is Kansas going? Can you just give us a little bit of synopsis there?
Well, Kansas are still alive. They're in the Super Bowl on Monday, and look to be morals. And they knocked out Miami, funnily enough.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of. So you make money off Nick's tips, okay? And yet your team owns him. Like bloody disgraceful, Nick.
Good. We're from Miami. It's like hotter than North Queensland. And we go to play in Kansas. It was literally minus 27 degrees.
So
it was bullshit.
They said enough.
We were frozen fish. What are we supposed to do?
Oh my God, Nick! Could you imagine you saying that in your playing career as an excuse? That'd be disgraceful, mate. Disgraceful. Anyway, more importantly,
one last thing for the Super Bowl. That the story with Brock Purdy's amazing. I think he was number 262 or something in the draft, which is the last one, and they call him Mr. Irrelevant or something like that. And he was, I think, third tier quarterback at the 49ers, and the two guys went down. He got a start, and they just went on this huge run, and he's been going really, really well for the last couple of years. But in that scenario, when you get to the biggest stage, I think you can get found out. So I'm expecting him having a horror show, and Mahomes his class to shine through. So
It sounds like there's some betting involved here as well, too, mate, which is what this show's about. It's about betting and making money.
I'm only watching because Taylor Swift's going. That's the only reason.
Oh, God, I find that vomit, mate. I just can't stand that. It's about sport. It's not about who your bloody girlfriend is, for Christ's sake. Anyway, let's find some winners. Trent, just a quick mention on what you're looking for as far as track pattern is concerned.
I was a little more concerned yesterday when they were forecasting 35-kilometre-hour winds that there could be just red-hot rail. That's gone back down to about 20 to 30, but I am on rail on fire lookout. So I'm going to be really worried about that. Obviously, with the rain as well, it can flop both ways depending on what they've been doing. If they have been watering, hopefully they haven't done anything there. And so I'm petrified there's going to be on-pace rail buyers. So I'm on the lookout. Okay, so
well, I just let you know they put 3 mils on in the last 7 days. Okay, so they're obviously not done a lot there. And I think we're going to miss it, guys. I think we're going to be on a good track. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think there's much around good. So.
Okay, let's find some winners. Race 1, 1,110 metres, and not Trent. You have to go first because that is the way we handle these Brisbane previews, but when I was doing this, I didn't think it was your style of race. But you still have to find the winner, mate. So keep up the tradition.
I'm gonna have to pass, Gord. Unfortunately,
Oh
I
God!
forgot about
I
I forgot about
they
race
hear you're
one.
coming on, and it's they let
Oh,
everybody down.
we're not counting race one. That's a horrible race. So I didn't even look at it. So I do apologise. I did forget about race one.
Okay, Nick, you've seen a couple of these horses. Do you have
Mm.
an opinion, and who's a nice style of horse?
Well, I've seen two of them, Gord. I got to say, I'm really surprised at the market here. $2.20 is around the price for the 5 Miss Bustingham, which ran at the Sunny Coast. And it did an okay job. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was pushed out in its trial when it won at Gosford, and it SP'd at $50 at the Sunny Coast. I'm not going to. I know it was a metro meeting, but I'm not. No way I'm diving into $50 previous start, and I'm going to take $2.20 next start. That's not for me at all. And the second favourite, Fields of Morwell, it won one of those races at Ipswich over 800. It's obviously a very fast horse, and then it looked under a bit of pressure, kicked away again, and
I thought it was real weak late, mate.
it was in trouble late.
Yeah.
So going up 300 metres, you think's got to be 310 metres, got to be a huge question mark. If there's a bit of give, it's a deep field, that'll help. But a bit like Trent, I couldn't really see anything to get too excited about here.
Okay, well, I am kind of excited. Look, don't get me wrong, it's not a primary or anything like that, but I've gone down the rabbit hole lining everything up from trials and linked form and stuff like that. And I'm with this number 3, Sajid, and I'm very surprised that it's over $9. I know that's only a 650-meter trial, but I thought it had a bit of style, man. And I think the booking of Orman rode it in the trial. Orman, who is the number 1 jockey up there, is riding it on race day. And the others have serious question marks. They're more exposed, yes. And this horse hasn't proven itself. But I think the exposed stuff is showing that they don't have any ability. And this is the only one that might have some ability. So I thought the $9 about number 3. I love it when young 2-year-olds, Nick, draw the inside barrier too, because they don't get lost. They can just sort of like follow that rail.
Finding a different form line is probably the way to go, Gord. So you're probably on the right track there.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I went looking for that other Lee's horse, X Quadrata or whatever, but it came out of the same trial as Miss Buslinger, and I thought it was very hard ridden.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a small margin there, but I thought that was a little bit of an anchor on the favourites in this market. Really easy play in a low confidence race. Okay, so are we going to call race 2 race 1, Trent, or are you going to chime in? You probably don't want to chime in this one. You're just. Why did I get him on, Nick? Bloody hell, he's too excited
I hate this
about
race
his.
as well.
Yeah.
I did do the 4.
1,200 meters, 3-year-olds. I'll still go to you, mate. You can say nothing. You just hold on your moral as in your first selection of the day for a later time. But what have you done?
Number 2, Fuck You Banner, I think it's called, is a moral. So I've got it around the $1.40 mark. It's been $1.70 into $1.62. I think there's only one danger, and that's the 4. The 4's 1,000 meters up to 12, where the other one's 11 up to 12. It's got beaten easily the 4 last start. So I don't see anything that can beat the 2. Do I really want to bet down at that range? Not particularly. Do I think the 2 will win? Yes. So I'd say I'll be keeping the 2 safe and laying everything else.
Biddy, Nick?
Pretty similar. I thought there was only really the 2 chances, the 2 and the 4. The only thing I thought was the 4 could be ahead of the 2 in the run, and might kick away. I thought it was decent at the Sunny Coast. There was one well back behind and bossed up that I think was in $1.50, $1.60, and it did a much better job than it. That was the only thing I could find. I'm certainly not going to rush into the price for Cabana. No chance. Look, it was okay last time, but didn't set the world on fire for me, and there's no way I'm diving into that price. It's probably better than these, but not for me. It depends what Vindicta gets out to. If it gets to a silly price, I might have a peanut on because I think it'll be in front of it in the run, and that's about it.
I can't see this number 2 getting beaten. I'd have it under $1.50. I haven't put a price next to these all, but I think people are being a little bit too or more harsh on Fukubana because they expected it to win last start. And when they expect a horse to win and it gets beaten by over a length, then there can be a little bit of an overplay on the negativity there. Then you look at its sectional stuff, and its late sectionals are absolutely sensational. It did those with Brody Loy on and 60 kilos. Now it gets Orman on down 1.5 kilos to 58.5. There is nothing else in the race. Look, I mean, I don't want to get too carried away and like unload on it, which some of these horses I do, because I don't think it is 100% proven yet. But I could be super aggressive here and say anything over 130 is value. So, because there's just nothing else in the race. Let's move on to race 3 over the 2,000 metres, and maybe I'll just have another go. Trent, what have you got here?
I was very keen in this race, but it's a 2,000 metre race, Gord, so I do need to dampen that enthusiasm.
Who's this negative Nelly we've got on, Nick? Like, seriously.
I'm not doing the scheduling, Gord.
Yeah.
I'm going to put 2-year-old, 3-year-old races and 2,000 metre races early. It's always going to be a struggle for me. So, but you've got the Waller number, hasn't won since April. Coming up, it's had three wins out of 30, so it does look a good opportunity to take something on. Now, it's got a good chance. I got it on top around the $5 mark, but where it's around the 5 to 2 mark at the moment, that's poison odds for me. There were 2 here I thought that were good odds. Number 2, Garutu. So it's a real winner.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a real winner on the backup. That last week, it ran the third best last 200 of the meeting, and that was over 1,800. The race was fast, but it was slow out early. But still, over 1,800 to do that, it's a pretty good effort. I've got it around the $5.50 mark. I've taken $7.50. It's a winner compared to the City Horse Waller number coming up. I think it is a great bet from Barrier 3. The other one I'm going to have something on is a bit of a boyfriend of mine, number 8, Galifianakis. So third up now.
I thought you might have kicked your boyfriend out of bed, but still in there, mate. So.
No, it sucked me back in. When I saw the price, I was a little shocked at where that price was. So it's third up now. It's gone from 1,350 up to 18. So it's a big jump there. It stays at the same trip, goes up to 2,000. Its last win was over 2,000. Win before that's 2,200. Win before that 2,170. So it's getting up to a point. Up to a distance now where it can do something. I thought that was a big improvement last start, and it doesn't have to improve much off that to be competitive in this race with these lump of horses. So I've got it around the $8 mark. I took 13, I think, yesterday. So they're the 2 for me in this race.
Really, Nick?
We found the same 2. I actually had Galifianakis on top. It was decent first up. It normally takes a couple of runs. Second up, it's probably the one that most of these have been up forever. It's the one that's probably got some improvement to come. I made some really dumb betting mistakes last week, and Garutu was one of them. Paraded fantastic, but I just was against it because the horse has just been up forever. But it's on the 7-day backup. Just one of these horses in form, I think, that you've got to give every chance to. It'll just... probably the last, and like Trent said, it's the one that's got winning form. I think it's won 4 out of its last 7, which most of these, I mean, the Waller number, Kibosh, the favourite, it's 3 for 30 all time. It's 0 for 8 goes at this track, and it's its 9th run in. It's pretty hard to dive into, $3.55 to 2, one of those. I certainly can't entertain it. So I thought Galifianakis around the $12, $13 mark that they put up was a better bet. And the one that I was quite keen on last week, Artful Girl down the bottom. It was just really disappointing, and I find it hard to back a horse off a run like that. So I'm Galifianakis each way at this stage.
Yeah, I obviously won't be betting in this race because off figures and what you've done recently, Kibosh is just so far in front of the rest. But I have no interest in horses that are nonnies. Waller numbers, 30 starts for 3 wins, as you guys say. But the line through Louisville and Floating, which is those last 2 starts, and then Naval College, Touristic before that, it's just so much better than anything else. You've got the gun jockey up there, and you're probably going to be well, you're going to be map positive as well. It's just one of these ones where you want to be against a horse, but Waller has just placed it in exactly the right race, booked the right jockey, and it's got too much going for it. And another thing too, guys, you might look at that run last start. That run last start has more merit than people realise, purely because this horse, I think it's a dry tracker. And I know in your form guides, you guys out there will have it as like a soft 5 or whatever. The track, when you look at the results, played a lot worse than that. So it's another thing that sort of entertained me. And Galifianakis is a boyfriend of mine, but I'm suggesting maybe you two like it because it's named after an American sports person, and you guys obviously have some sort of fondness, although it is basketball. But I know that's Trent's cup of tea as well. So
isn't he a tennis player?
Is he a tennis player?
No, he's the bloke out of Hangover with the beard.
Oh, is he really?
Okay.
Oh, he's the one.
We're
He's
all
the
wrong.
basketball player that's got like a Greek name or something like that.
Giannis.
Oh, what's
and
he?
Konakupo.
Yeah.
Look, here we go. Americans, we're gonna have to start a new show, you know, guys. American sports betting, okay? So keep
I'm
in
in.
mind.
Oh, that. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a really tricky race. Race 4, 1,600 meters, and now that Trent's, off on the board right now, I'll go to you first, Nick.
My first race of real interest, Gord.
Geez, I timed that well.
Yeah. I'll be back in 2 here. I suggest everyone goes and has a look at the record of the Michael Nolan stable in 2024. It's interesting. Let's say they're on a hot streak. And there's been a few that have been backed. There was one last week that backed Uncommon Ballad. I thought it was a chance, but I didn't understand the money for it. But it duly saluted. And this one was pretty good last start. I think it's got a chance. It'll be forward. I like doing these 2-bet plays when I have one at the front and one towards the rear. And I thought the other one was Smooth Talk, the one of Matt Dunn's down the bottom. I think this horse is going really well. It's got a good turn of foot about it. So I'm happy to have the one on the up near the front for me, Granite Prince, and I'll have Smooth Talk. I think one's $3.80, one's around $6, so I can make a good market there for myself, and pretty happy to play there.
Yeah, you can shop pretty well in that. I think you can shop better than that too, Nick, which makes it
we can. I'm just looking
better.
at
Yeah. Trent, what do you got?
I've got number 3, Granite Prince, and number 15, Smooth Talk, equal on top, around the $5 mark. That makes the 3 Granite Prince bet for me. It's going to go forward. It's coming out of a benchmark 75 back down to the benchmark 68, where it ran well last start and it was 2-1. So it has to be, you have to have it short. You have to have it shorter than $8. It's a 4-year-old. It's got upside. It's a winner. There's plenty of ticks here for this horse. I think it should start around more like $5 than $8. So more than happy to support Nick there. The other horse I was going to back in the race at around the 40-1 mark was number 8, Adensee. Hasn't won since the summer of '82, but just ratings-wise, it's done a few things here and there.
Is that when you were born, mate? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you bring up 82, or is that
no?
Or is that like
You're happy with that?
Me and my brother used to always just say summer of '82 every time we do something.
It's not a Bryan Adams song or something like that. Oh, that's summer of '69.
69.
Yeah.
No.
Your pop culture is terrible today, Gordon. It really is.
Mate, seriously. Like when I do trivia, and I love trivia, like I need a pink question person.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Tim. Started 15-1 last start in a similar grade. It's going up slightly, but gets barrier 2 now. Again, could flop into something. So at the price, don't need too many ticks. So having something on it, I've got it around the $16 mark. So more than happy to take the 40s in it, but very keen on the 3 Granite Prince.
Race 5 over the 1350, Class 1. Nick, what do you got?
I found this one a bit tricky. Wasn't nearly as enthusiastic about this. I'm I am a fan of the trainer and the jockey on the one, Russian Mystic. Not really concerned about the weight. It was a pretty decent run first up. Actually, just got tired a little bit late. Got him in the mix. He's for the girls in the mix, but not overly happy from the draw, though it is a good long run from there. And the other one I thought was some sort of interest was the 11 Soaring Phoenix, but one of these, sort of lower grade races good. I find it very difficult to get enthusiastic about. It's got a very long tail, this race, and I don't think the market late will tell us where we're going to go here.
And your yard too, Nick. Which
if
they all have no ability, then you're looking for one that just looks great in the yard. I think it's a great way to play it. Sorry, mate.
I'm interested to see how the toppy looks for sure.
Okay, sweet. Trent, what have you found?
I've got number 1 and 3 equally on top, around the $6 mark, so no bets there. The two I was interested in are number 9, Fire Love. So again, this one hasn't won for a long time. However, the first 2 runs back this prep have been pretty good. Switching from Casey Waddell to Robbie Dolan, which is a positive. That's running that Fillies Mares Class 1. They're wide throughout. Had a poor recovery, so had excuses when it was 4-1. And start before that, wide throughout, inconvenience to the 300. Again, short 3-1. So it's had the short SPs. It's coming up in grade slightly, coming out of the Fillies Mares race, but there's something there with this horse. It's around $11 at the moment. I'll probably have it a little bit shorter. I've got it around the $7 mark. It's the bet for me in this race. The other horse I'm going to back is number 5. He's for the girls. Coming out of, so it's 4th up now, Martin Harley. It's coming out of the 3-year-old race. So coming out of superior form, coming back to this race. It had excuses last start, slowly away and over raced. Began awkwardly the start before that. So there's the start before it was 2-1 on the heavy track at Caloundra. Last start, it was out the gate. It was 60-1. So there is some concern there around the price, which is why it is the way it is. But I think it can improve, and I think it's got some ability. So I've got it around the $12 mark. It's currently 23. More than happy to back it.
Yeah, race of little interest for me. I did just notice one little pattern that I go looking for about number 2, Quoth Quan. And that is it trialled terribly. Well, it's lightly raced. Everything that's exposed we know doesn't have any ability. They did actually have an opinion of the horse and ran in some decent sort of metropolitan races its first preparation where it wasn't completely embarrassed. Trialled a lot better this time in and won at the track last start. So maybe this is just a new horse now. And if you notice that it was galloped on and still won, and there was a big margin to the 3rd horse. Now, the figures need to be better, but I thought it was the only one that could be going on to better stuff. And there is a little bit of evidence that there's opinion about this horse, and maybe it's come back better this preparation. Let's move on to race 6 over the 1,200 metres. And Trent, what do you got here?
I was very, very, very keen here, Gord, until I saw that the only 2 chances in the race come out of the same stable. They can be a bit tricky, and I got caught up with that Princess Rainus back when it was running, and they were aiming for that one race, and then it just got back and flops out and comes home because they're aiming for the race the week after, the 2 weeks after. So if you can get any information as to not whose turn it is, but certainly who's more suited in this race than the other one, I'd be keen to know. But I have backed John Rambo at the moment. Just on paper, I like it better than the other one. It's sectionals last start, very, very good. Although the race was in a moderate tempo. It's 5th up now, Ryan Maloney. So happy with Ryan Maloney. Started short last time. It's coming from the benchmark 68 here to class 3. So similar company. I think it can do it again. As I mentioned, the only danger is the Damo days. I'm a little bit worried about horses second up more so than later in their prep. It's hard to tell. Some horses can level off, some can regress, and then bounce off that. I'm more than happy to take John Rambo with what it's done over what Damo Days has done second up. So,
do you think
big
there's
bet,
any
number 2?
Do you think there's any lead in the jockeys there? Like Maloney sticks with John Rambo and Orman jumps on Damo Days. So you making anything of that?
Not sure. I've got them quite similarly rated, both those jockeys. So whether James has the first choice, I'm not sure how to
I'm
set up.
suggesting it would have been Maloney that had the first choice because, like, he rode Damo Days to victory last start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hope so.
That kind of
because
confused me because that's why I
I hope
asked.
so because I've got at the moment I've got John Rambo $2.30 and I've got the other one 4.80.
Yeah.
There has been a bit of softness supporting that way. I hope John Rambo firms, and I hope it's the one. And I've backed it accordingly. So, but I think the train will probably know best.
It sounds like you're hinting for some sort of comment there, Trent. Was that a leading question there, Nick?
Oh, Nick, yeah, Nick's on the ground there. So Nick
all I can
know a
say
little bit
about
more.
the trainer is whatever he's got in there is trying. Tony's just fanatical about winning, maniacal about
so
winning.
he's Gay Waterhouse, yeah?
He is.
Yeah.
So there's no, when Tony, if he saddles 3 up, we all have our suspicions with certain stables. There's no favourites with his. They're all, this is what we want to do. John Rambo's, in my opinion, is clearly the best horse, and he's got a turn of foot that the others don't have. The map's not great for him. I would have loved to have seen him drawn in just a little bit closer. A good friend of mine is one of the owners, and he describes him basically as a dumb shit of a horse. He's just one of these horses that he's an Adelaide. I don't know, they haven't really fired. He's only a cheapie, but he's got some talent. Like, they ran him in the Wave and things like that. They obviously think he's got some talent, and he has, but he's not the most aware of horses, that sort of thing. He can do a few things wrong, although he is getting better.
So saying that, Nick, do you spot that from the yard with a horse like that? So will you see it on Saturday?
He's getting better. He's getting better. But he's never really had any race smarts about him. In one of the Gateway, I think at Doomben, Eagle Farm, he smashed himself in the barrier and was never competitive in that. So he's just one of those horses, things can go wrong for them. But on ability, I think he's clearly the best horse. And I thought Damo Days was the danger, but to me, he took a long time to get there last start. He just didn't really show a turn of foot. He was strong through the line, and it's only his second start. He's probably got some improvement in him. But I had John Rambo on top, but I just wish he'd drawn inside 5, and then I would have been pretty keen.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting race to price up. Now, obviously, I'm going to tick the horse that's lightly raced and is a proven winner in Damo Days. I do have it on top. Saying that, it's not really done anything yet. Like, I'd have to really give it more of a tick for its run a year ago at Eagle Farm where it beat Paris Avenue than I would on that last one, because I think that last race is super weak. But it might have upside off that, and it's not going to do anything from one, while I might have map issues and head case issues, as Nick's suggesting about John Rambo. There was just another little thing there, guys, and then I thought that in the major lead up, I thought it was kind of more difficult to separate John Rambo, Strapasi, and Amathuba.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, well, if all of those are taking up all that percentage, if that happens to not be the right race, then that gives me a little bit more of a tick for Damo Days. But that's just a way I handle things. I only handle things that way, guys, if I'm really trying to find a bet, and I don't like to try and find bets. I like to let bets come to me.
I think you're right there, good, because I think John Rambo last start, if he was going as well as his talent allows, he probably put 2 on them. But they got a bit closer to him than I thought they should have. So he might not. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I take your point for sure.
Let's move on to race 7 over the 1,200 metres, and I've found a fantastic bet here, and I'm interested to see if anybody else has found it. Nick, what have you got?
Well, I have found a fantastic bet, Gord. It's the only significant bet I've had so far. So hopefully you and I are on the same page here.
I prefer to argue, Nick. Clarifies
You
the
do, so do I.
mind.
My wife will probably yell out, yeah, so do I. But going on the parade, this horse, I've got a good hand on this horse. I've seen him plenty of times in Brisbane now. He's really big through the midsection and takes some racing. And the Dunn stable are like that. They need some racing to get them fit. I've had a good each way bet here on number 11, Crazy Train. Just got beat by Emperor last start. I thought he was going to win 100 out, and Emperor just sort of ground away to the line. But I think this horse is going well. He looked in great condition. But I did note that I thought he was just maybe half a run short. I think he'll be at his prime condition now. There's good tempo here. La Amigo, Enterprise Pom will come across. Enterprise Pom goes right, but you can guarantee it'll pull. Northern Express, it's at Nolan Stable, so a little bit worried. And Ma Baby is probably a little bit like the Crazy Train back. It'll sit out the back and try and be strong, but I think Crazy Train's a better horse. And I will probably have a small bet on Jayanthi too. She's dropping down in class and she goes pretty well this mare, but she's just been out of her depth the last two. And she's been parading well and going okay. But I've had one decent each way bet early, and that was on 11, Crazy Train.
Beauty. Trent, what do you got?
Number 3, Enterprise Pom on top. Just ahead of number 10, Ma Baby. Enterprise Pom now, second up, coming back in grade. I'm always looking for horses coming back in grade. I think they can rate a lot higher when they get the higher weight. A lot of people don't. When the weights guys look at it, they'll say, okay, well, it's going up in weight, so it's going to be harder. But it just means they rate that amount of weight higher. I'm concerned now about the pulling, but last prep, it's good enough ratings to win here. Second up now. I ignore the SP because it's coming back in grade from that 40-1 behind Lady Laguna. So yeah, I have to with Doomben going forward, a positive. I think this is the early bet. I've already backed this one. The one I thought was the best odds was number 2, La Amigo. I'm petrified of how much pace is here, but because it's Doomben and it's going to be an advantage going forward, I'm not as concerned as I would at some other tracks. But again, it's another horse that's had problems first 2 starts this prep. So in the benchmark 90 in higher grade last time, it was wide throughout, inconvenience at the 500. First up, wide throughout, where it was in the market there, and that opened at Caloundra. So if I start looking back, going back to where it was before, what it was doing, ratings were quite high before. Even though it was wide in those last 2 runs, this prep, it's rated really well. So it goes up 2.5 kilos here. If it rates that a little bit higher and improves off that, gets a decent run, which I think it should from barrier 5, I think it's much better than the $16. I've got it around the $6 mark. So I've backed it also. So 2 bets for me in the race. Number 3, Enterprise Pom. Number 2, La Amigo.
I just thought there was the super easy bet in this race was number 3, Enterprise Pom, and that is if we do get the trap pattern that we're all suggesting might be the case, it's going to be map positive. It's leader back in grade. Some people might look at its second up runs and be slightly disappointed, but they're against some serious horses in Patronus, Better Get Set, Extremist, Release the Beans and stuff like that. This is the absolute perfect race for it. And I suppose it depends on the way you analyse things, but I'm giving it a really positive jockey change with Graham off for Thornton on. Now I know other people have got that the other way around, but that's the way I'm handling that jockey change on this occasion. Saying that, my second selection, Nick, was Crazy Train. Mm-hmm. And my third selection was La Amigo. So there you go. we've yeah. Well, I mean, I sort of need a comment now, guys, then about the favourite, Nick. So number 5, Northern Express, because I'm really going to rely on you because I don't know anything about this horse, and obviously it's favourite. So
it's obviously a chance good, and the draw helps. Jockey's okay. It's got to improve a bit though. I think some of these are a little bit more exposed. I agree with you guys on Enterprise Pom and those horses being positive, but I'm terrified of wide draws at Doomben from anything less than 13.50. if you don't get across, you can just get stuck there. And yeah, look, if Enterprise Pom gets across and settles, it's super hard to beat. But she's got this habit of getting there and
But you know the thing is, Nick, if you over race, just go like the clappers. Yeah, definitely league. Be aggressive. If you're going to over race anyway, you might as well over race in front where you can be completely relaxed. There's no extra restraining or something like that.
No argument from me. Yeah. We see it week in, week out here that guys, they're either pushing them forward when they don't need to instead of just letting them find their way across, give them 300 meters to find their way across. And then they get on the bit and they start half charging and that. And we're seeing a lot of that lately. Or they'll get 2/3 of the way there and go, oh shit.
Oh, and then give up the ghost. I can't stand that.
Yeah. And that's the worst. You know, at least make a decision one way or the other. But yeah, look, it's there's no doubt they're going to go good speed. And look, as I said earlier, that Michael Nolan stable, I'm very, very, very aware of them at the moment.
Beauty, race 8, 1,600 meters. Trent, what do you got?
I think there's a moral here, Gord, which will be number 5. Anything goes. So I'm always going to be with the horse coming from benchmark 78 in Sydney, going up there. It's not a real winner, but it's got James Orman on it. So hopefully he can get it going. That Sydney form at the moment can also be a little bit suspect. So I could have had it very, very short. I haven't dived in as yet because I am a little worried about.
Well, the weird thing is, Trent, is the line through built. Maybe you're thinking not quite so strong, but J-Mac gave Built the best run you've ever seen to win by a tiny margin. There was a big margin to the third horse. Then the previous run, the small margin to running by is fantastic, and they put 5 lengths on the third horse. There's an argument you can make that I know how you're saying, like it's not the peak time in Sydney, therefore they can be weaker, so you shouldn't give them as much of a push. But you could make an argument that those lines are pretty good. But anyway, I
think the lines are very, very good. I think for what's going around at the moment and good enough to win here. The concerns for me are 25 starts, 4 wins. That's the worry. 9 placing. So it could just be a horse that just likes to get out there and run and not a real winner. Is not going to find it's not screaming line chaser to me. When you're taking $2.30, $2.40, you need line chaser. No, that's the concern. But it's just
found the weakest race you've ever seen. See, this is the trade-off, isn't it? These nonnies, but what a perfect race.
So I think it should win. Do I really want to back it? I've marked it $2.20. It's kind of that at the market at the moment. Do I really want to back it? No. Do I want to lay it? No. It's just an ick fest. So it's one of those races where you love to be a bookmaker, which allows you
Where's your shirt? Have you got your shirt on?
Yeah, I've got it here.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
He wants to advertise his NFL team more than his company,
I'm on the laptop. I'm on the laptop today, Gord, so I can't.
Oh, okay.
I've got to look down, so then I've got to look up. So So do I think it wins? Yes. Do I want to put a huge bet on it? No. So it's just left me icky. But there's only a horse the only horse I think can win the race. So.
What do you do? Everybody knows what you mean. Like you'll probably get a narc out there having a go, but I think most people know what you mean. Nick, what have you found here?
Well, largely in agreement with what Trent said there, that don't really want to back it, but I certainly don't want to lay it. I think it's clearly the best horse. And I thought the only danger was the 14 Last Chance Saloon, which is the one that's got a bit of upside. I did like how it attacked the line last start. It took that run up the inside when it, you see some that don't really look too keen to go through the gap, but I thought it charged through the gap. And I thought Michael Rod's starting to look like the Michael Rod of old. I think he's starting to ride a lot better. And
this aggression, bit more aggression, Nick, or something like that. Oh, yeah,
definitely. Look, I've got someone who gave me a full rundown on what Michael Rod has gone through with vision issues and that from concussions and that, and it's amazing that he's still riding and back to his best. I think he's going pretty well now. This horse has probably still got a bit of upside. I mean, he's only had the 8 starts, whereas a few of these most of these have found their mark. And from the draw, I think it gets a pretty soft run. I'm hoping Cocoa Brew Express goes it along at a decent clip, and I thought it was the only danger. And there's a big difference in pricing there, so we'll see how they parade. But might be able to back one and save on. Might be able to back the favourite and save on the other.
Yeah, it's an interesting race because you know, if you were just going off previous runs and a little bit of other information, you could go red on anything goes. Particularly the map looks right too, Trent. Like there's no pace on the inside there. There's one just inside him and there's two outside him, and then it's just like, well, where are we going to be here? Well, he can do whatever he wants. He can either be one OSL, one out, one back, or lead. Could be any of the three, and they're all going to be lovely positions the way we're assessing the track. The extra
one out, one back. I thought one out, one back. Good.
Yeah,
just cross into that.
I mean that's just like the jockey can do that without making any decisions.
Yep.
If they go slow, he can be more positive. If there's a little bit more bias, he can be more positive. I was just looking for a late preparation 1600 meter run because you know I don't like horses getting this late in their prep with win percentages like Trent was saying 25 for 4. And I just noticed that run at Warwick Farm over the 1600 meters where it came third to Gracias Amigos. That would definitely win this race. So I've got a late preparation 1600 meter run as well. So ticking a few boxes there, but yet again, not my style of race. Race 9 over the 1350 meters. And Nick, you've been watching a lot of these horses run round and round and round and round. Who has upside and who do you like?
Well, I think there's only one that has upside, and that's the 3 Boom Talk. This horse is, since he, if you go back through his history, he was a Aquas Casey Fogden horse early on, and he looked like he was just going to be another number. And then she gave away training, and Matthew Dunn took the horse over, and since then the horse has just been low flying. I don't know if you guys, well, I imagine you have watched the replay of its win on Magic Millions Day down the Gold Coast. It was 3-4 wide, no cover, good tempo, went probably 8 or 9 wide round the corner, and just really roared through the line, attacked and beat Better Get Set, who, you know, he might not be a star, but he's a fair standard of horse. And this horse did a really good job. And in that first prep, I mean, he did that with a lot of runs in his first prep. He's obviously come back really well. I think the horse is absolutely flying. Stable's going well. I had him clearly on top. The only thing is that obviously he's going to be a little bit Matt negative. But I think do you
think so? Do you think
maybe? I think he'll settle a bit closer than he did down the Gold Coast. But look, I think the horse is low flying, but I love these. I still consider him reasonably lightly raced horse who are on the up, and I think this is one of them. And I'm happy to follow him.
Pretty, Trent.
You're very keen to 3 here. Boom Talk. I've got it round even money. It's sectionals. 2 of its last 3 races have been really, really good. Even the second last race is not too bad as well. But 9th best last 200 at the Magic Millions meeting from the wide gate. So, you know, when you're looking at who's going to beat it, so you're going to have Kinlock back there with it. You know, I think this horse has got to turn a foot.
I'm thinking they should go forward on Boom Talk, Trent.
Oh, they should.
Yeah,
but what they end up doing.
I know. Yeah.
If it goes forward, it's a
people
Monty.
do watch this show, you know. So you can make a suggestion.
I'll tell any trainer. The further forward you go, the better it is.
Well, they got Daytona Bay right last week for us anyway. Good. They went.
Yes. They did indeed. That was lovely. That was a lovely result.
Really, what you want to do as little work as possible to get as far forward as you can. That's what you should be doing for every single race. I think, you know, Kinlock, I'm a little bit against. So, you know, you're just looking at dangers and say, okay, this horse is a really good horse, lightly raced, putting great sectionals. Who can go with it? And you got Hatchet, who was in that same race and got beaten 5 lengths at 6 to 1. So you can't, you've got to think that should be worse odds than 6 to 1. And, you know, it's around that in the market at the moment. So you're going, well, who am I left with? So I think if it's Kinlock and it together, I think it'll beat Kinlock. I think Hatchet's going to be pretty easy to run past. So I can't have Hatchet, and that's it. So if it turns up, I think it wins. The other horse I have backed, have a look at Bar Nuns last two first up ratings scored. So that Eagle Farm Open race, came back, it was 40-1, but got beaten a half a length in an open race. And then it's time before that, it won at Doomben in a benchmark 78. Again, 25-1. So it's rated pretty similar ratings, those first up runs. I've penalised it significantly off those. But if there's going to be a horse...
he's just been keeping it up for too long too, hasn't he? And it's
obviously so it could be a freshie.
There's a chance it's a freshie. Good find, man. I didn't even look at it. So,
so 40-1 at the moment. I've backed it already. I think when you're looking at horses and you're saying, "Oh, you're not really keen on that, not really keen on that," this horse here, but if it turns up it wins, that's fine. Who's something else that could do something? I think Bar None could certainly run into a place. So massive bet, number 3 Boom Talk, and I've had a decent go at number 15 Bar None also.
Considering the pattern we're expecting on the day, if I found out that Boom Talk was going to be map positive, I would be super keen on it. It's just better than these. And the only one that is on par as far as ability is Kinlock, and it's going to be out the back, and it's definitely going to be out the back because that's what it always does. So, if I could get map positive about Boom Talk, I would be a lot shorter than the best available, which is $2.70 at the moment. Hatchet, originally I was going to put 20-1 next to it, and I've had to move it into 8 because of barrier 1 and map positive as far as pattern is concerned. I wanted to really take a set against it and back. I was going to sort of have a good go at Boom Talk and then just something on Kinlock, but I was only going to back Kinlock late because I think it'll blow because pattern on the day will be against it. And how sometimes late in the day it can switch around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really interesting race, man. There's all these weird maps and form lines and blah, blah, blah. Which generally when I say that means that I should just have a nap. Okay. Because
can we please not ever mention Bar None on this show again?
We've mentioned it a few times,
Yeah.
I always do.
We had a really good bet back in July on Salik, and it knocked us off at $31. And
I know. Yeah,
haven't forgiven it since. It's too soon. It's too soon.
Okay, race 10, 1350. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, good little race this. Viminel has been a horse of ours and has been a good horse to us. It's had a couple of results at good odds, but it's just got into this habit of half missing a kick or missing away, and I think it's going really well. He missed away on the sunny coast, and I don't know. Do these jockeys watch the pattern? I mean, he did not need to go down into the quicksand on the inside in the straight, and he did. Still thought it was going to win at one stage, but Heroic Miss, who's been a really good horse to us, just kept going. But look, if Viminel with either luck, I think is super hard to beat here. Corfe Castle's going well, gets a nice run, and the other one is Hell of a Dancer, who we were with last start and was a really good result and was a pretty soft win in the end. So I thought that those three were the ones. And the only other one at odds is the Toppy Hollywood North, who we were with first up at any old price, and then he went to some other angles then after that, and then was out of his depth last up. But he's actually...
I hope he didn't drop off for his next 2 victories, Nick. I hope you followed your money there.
Let's just move on then, Gord, because that's been the story of my my staking lately. But I think, look, I've got Viminel on top, but I think Hell of a Dancer is also right in the mix. They're the top 2 for me, but if anything, it'd be a 2-bet play.
Beauty. Trent?
2 chances in the race, Gord. Number 4, Viminelli, and number 12, Hell of a Dancer. I want to see track and see how it's going before I finish off my betting, but I have backed number 12, Hell of a Dancer, at the moment, just because it is going to be map positive over Viminelli. But
I actually think it's a better horse, man. But anyway, also. So,
yeah, I'm not so sure. Obviously, it hasn't won for a while, Viminelli, so it's got Jake Bailiff, so I'm not going to be beating down doors to get on it. But I think there's only 2 hopes in the race, and one's going to be forward. the track is playing as expected. I think Hell of a Dance is going to be suited, and I think that'll be the only one I back. But if it does flip and it is going the other way, then I'll have to entertain Viminelli. Do I want bets on either of them? No. So happy to take on a few others in the race. But I think it's a pretty skinny race.
I think it's 2.5 chances. I'm giving half a chance at number 11, AWOL, guys.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah, I mean, Walsh, seriously, like he's good, man.
He's sneaky, isn't he?
I mean, he buys a like a Melbourne horse, brings it up for a kill, wins by over 4 lengths. Sectionals were looking pretty good to me. Brings it to town with 54.5 on its back. Probably going to be map positive. Maybe he's got this horse flying, and he's a really sneaky trainer, and maybe we might get a little bit more North Queensland information about this horse too, Trent, because I hear there's somebody up there that got a pretty good guide on how North Queensland horses go. But that'll be a phone call for later on.
He just leads here, doesn't he?
What's that?
Just goes to the lead here, doesn't he?
Well, that's what you should do. What you should do and what they do, as Trent and you have said, Nick,
No, I just
what they should do is what we tell them to do. That's it.
I just thought it was the obvious leader, and maybe Hell of a Dancer sits just off it.
I'd love that scenario. Last race of the day, map positive is an advantage. We'll see. There's a little bit of other pace in the race here, but yeah. So I'm interested in. I'm going to leave Viminel alone. I kind of liked it last start, and you're getting more exposed. I'd rather handle number 11 AWOL and number 12 Hell of a Dancer. I say special guest Trent from Combet. Where does everybody go to get a Combet account, and give us your morals of the day?
You go to combet.com.au. We'll be having auctions Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, every race. So it should be a fill up for the customers. And looking at my specials for the day, I've got race, might go backwards, race 10. Race 10, number 12. He
doesn't like being on his laptop, Nick, without the screen.
Hell of a Dancer.
Look at. He's a fish out of water without the screen.
It's next level torture. It's next level torture, good. Yeah. I'm so used to doing it the other way. Race 9, number 3, Boom Talk. Race 8, number 5, Anything Goes. And race 6, number 2, John Rambo.
Oh, so you are keen on that one. That's interesting. Sweet. Nick, John Rambo's one of your favourite horses, mate.
Well, one of my good racing mates is an owner in John Rambo, and his horse has been a nightmare, I tell you. It's a race good. There's like 10, and I think there's 4 races I won't do anything, but there's a few others that I'm quite keen to play in. So race 4 I thought was an easy 2-bet play, Granite Prince and Smooth Talk. Race 7, I'm already on Crazy Train each way. Race 8, Anything Goes, but I will certainly not be losing if Last Chance Saloon wins, because I think it's still got a little bit of upside, and I think everyone's going to find Boom Talk. I think the horse is low flying.
Beauty, and we can't wait for the yard, and we can't wait to get into that chat room, which is so much fun. And as I always say, guys, Nick is so generous with his time. If you actually post a question in there, he will specifically look at a horse of interest for you and give a comment on, which I think is personalised, fantastic service. So thanks for doing that, Nick. And if you don't sign up,
I enjoy the chat during the day with the boys, so it's good.
It's good fun. It's good fun, and it's even better fun when you're winning too, which is great. So yeah. Good luck, good punting, guys. Thanks, Trent from Combet, and thanks, Nick. Brisbane Mounting Yard Mail. There we go.
And go the Chiefs.